Thank you so much. It's very interesting because I am finding a lot of connections among the papers that have been presented, and I'm sure that you will find too in my paper too. So my name is Safir, and these are my co-authors. I'm just skipping this for the moment because of the time shortage. So as you see from the title of our paper, which is Distributive Epistemic Injustice in AI Ethics, and then a co-productionist account of global North-South politics and knowledge production. So it's kind of obvious that we will be talking about knowledge politics. So, but it has some loaded terms. I'm sure that there are people from different backgrounds, and I need to explain some of these things, but I will be trying to be concise because of the time, and of course the paper has a lot of details. So I would start with the technopolitics. It's and on the among the other things in the paper is it highly draws from STS, the field of science and technology studies, where scholars argue that technopolitics reconfigures political relations and power dynamics among actors. And in this paper, by actors, we specifically mean the experts, institutions, and nation states by using knowledge production as a political instrument. And also, we talked about co-production. It is also a theory that comes from STS. Sheila Jasanoff, she actually works and theorizes mostly on these angles that technology and society are interconnected, and they are not stable. They are dynamic, and they influences each other. They interact with each other. And actually, it is very useful, and it gives an explanatory lens to explain this knowledge politics for us, because it gives basically some 4 sides of co-production that I will discuss in a second. And last, not the least, is epistemic injustice, which is mostly theorized by Mirinda Fricker, a philosopher who works with knowledge making and stuff. But it is actually about when we discredit the knower, or credibility of knower. Say for example, the Global South speakers or Global South authors, can they make science? This kind of stuff. So next, basically, we will actually summarize what we have discussed and how we approach these things in our paper. This is basically, we analyze a comprehensive data set from Web of Science. So it's from 1960 to June 24. We analyzed almost 6,000 papers. Of course, in recent years, the number of papers were higher, and it's concentrated within this field because the field is shaping now in a more comprehensive way. Our findings show that mostly global North experts legitimize their expertise in AI ethics through dynamic citational and collaborative practices, and collectively they shape the discourses and institutional ways of understanding around ethical development of AI technologies. So the thing is, it's kind of bringing an order, and at the same time it co-produces an injustice which we think that we should talk about more. So what we did, of course, the methods, I'm not going deeper, but we did co-authorship. These are bibliometric analysis, and there are lots of applications of this kind of things in other fields. But I think, to best of our knowledge, I think we haven't seen this thing in AI ethics related scholarship. So what we did is basically highly cited research outputs. We find out from our initial database, because the data set is very large, and then we actually find out some most relevant research outputs. It's also, of course, used software that actually does algorithmically finds out the most relevant outputs. So these bibliometric analysis resulted in network visualizations that actually maps the status quo and the nature of current citational and collaborative practices among experts, institutions, and countries involved in global AI ethics research. It means that who cites whom, who collaborates with whom, and which country are represented in the overall practices. I'm not sure whether it is very much clear, but I'm sure the paper will give you more clearer picture. But it's basically very interesting that you can see that there are lots of authors who are actually highly cited, and the nodes actually means that how much cited they are. And I'm sure that some of the authors' name could be immediately prominent, and basically And basically, there is another interesting aspect is the red color, blue color, green and yellow color. This color means actually these authors come from like, different kind of orientation who are basically contributing to the interdisciplinary buildup of this field of AI ethics. So basically, we're looking into the epistemic infrastructure of AI ethics, and at the same time, we are looking at how divided it is and how it is also interconnected. And you can also see that like policy, these green colors are mostly policymakers, the red colors are the philosophers, and in the middle there are the blue colors. So these are like separate, like, wings, in AI ethics field. So what these co-citation practices reveal is an overwhelming presence, of course, of the Western scholars and minimal represent of Global South researchers, highlighting systemic barriers to recognition and legitimacy of Southern experts. Global South scholars face asymmetrical expectation to cite Western researchers to avoid marginalization. I'm sure that many of us have faced that, like when I'm claiming something, I need to find who are the most cited authors, and like that gives a credibility of our claims. While Global North scholars are not similarly expected to engage with Southern scholarships, perpetuating inequalities in identity formation and authority in the field. Next, institutionalization of AI ethics, and this is also interesting if it's visible from the image. You can see that there are like lots of groups of institutions, say for example Oxford, Cambridge, Turing, and these are one group, and in the US there is another group, in Europe there is another group. This is very interesting. This is the highly cited, this is actually a network visualization of citational practices among the global institutions. Like we have a friend, say I have a friend in, I'm from Cambridge, so I have a friend in Oxford, then I will collaborate with him or her, and then our paper would be there. So it's very interesting to look at that. And also, like, this is the co-authorship. Sorry, that was the actually citation one, and this is the co-authorships one. This is very interesting. The nodes show that it's coming from Oxford, MIT, Toronto, kind of like in this room, in this Stanford. And that being said, I am engaging with Hope. You said that about the positionality statement, and we did a tricky thing because positionality was very important for our paper too, because all the 4 co-authors were actually from University of Cambridge. So we actually mentioned that many of us actually migrated from Global South countries to get leverage of the institutions here so that it increases our actually identities as experts. So there are lots of discussion in the paper too. I'm sure that you'll find it exciting. So discursive spaces of AI ethics, which is my next step. So I'm just talking about very briefly that it relates to the first slide that I showed, that this is very interdisciplinary, and it actually, these colors actually shows that some people talk about technical fixes, some people talk about legal and policy implications, and some come up with human-centered approaches and other just broader implications of like philosophical implications of human life and philosophical questions that we know all about. So what happens is that critical issues relevant to Global South, such as data colonialism, labor exploitation, and culturally sensitive design are underrepresented. Occasional research on Global South concerns is insufficient. These issues are not well integrated into the mainstream AI ethics discourse. So there is a crisis of representation in AI ethics, and in summary, so you can see that England, Germany, US, these are the France, these are the like dominant nodes in the citational practices in the world, in the world, and also like these are the like collaboration among these countries, scholars from these countries. So this actually shows that these practices are heavily concentrated, like countries like US, England, Germany, as I said. So they are central role in the shaping field. Of course, these scholars are bringing stability and order in the field, but at the stake of Global South's representation. Non-Western countries like India and Brazil appear in the networks but remain on the periphery, reflecting weaker positions in this knowledge politics. So their limited participation basically hinders them in the ability to influence global AI ethics research agenda. So in summary, these are the 4 sites of co-production which actually would be helpful to understand the identity, institutional representation, and discourses. So basically, this could be also work as an entry point if we want to solve this problem, maybe some other researchers. So I would like to finish with this question: can AI ethics be ethical enough unless it takes care of its problem of epistemic injustice? Thank you.